Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone and thank each one of you for joining us for this live session with the Cook County Assessor's Office, where we will discuss the Assessor Property Detail Site. My name is Teresa Chandler. I'm the Community Outreach Strategist for the Cook County Assessor's Office. So, before we get started, I would like for you to grab a pen and paper, your laptop, your iPad, because the information that we have that we're going to provide for you, it's going to be significant, concrete, informative, detailed, and you can share it. Okay? Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Morella, so she can introduce herself.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Morella.
Hi. My name is Morella Villafuerte. I am the Chief Management Officer here at the Cook County Assessor's Office. Let's go ahead and get started. We have a good presentation to offer. We're very excited about the additional information that we're able now to provide to all of our constituents as a result of our implementation of the IS World system, which is the $30 million project that is expected to replace our 40-year-old mainframe and is going to be impacting all of the property tax offices within Cook County. So this is affording us the ability to share more information with the public, streamline some of our processes, and obviously better serve our constituents by virtue of working smarter. And without further ado, let me go ahead and start the presentation. I will be sharing my screen, and we will be starting at our website, which I hope everyone here is familiar with. Okay, so we are now at our Cook County Assessor's website, the website that everybody knows and loves. So we are going to start from here. The beauty of this application that we're going to be presenting is that you can either start from our website, which is where you would start at the property search page, enter a parcel, and do the normal search process that you would otherwise do for any property search, or you can go directly to the website, the application itself, which is also standalone. But we want to make sure that, especially for those of you that always start at our website to see what is the latest and greatest that we have to offer, obviously know that you can start from here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and, of course, CAPTCHA does not want to help today. Okay, click search. Okay, so I think most of the public is familiar with our property details page. It has a lot of our information that we typically provide as of our update of the website. It provides the previous assessment data for the board of review when available and the assessor valuation. It still contains information that is relevant to the specific property, for example, the characteristics, exemption information for those that qualify or had already applied, appeal history, certificate of error. And there's a couple of new functionality that we've also added to the website, which is in essence links to our assessment and appeal calendar, some information about how the properties are valued, information on your assessment notice, how to download a copy of your property tax bill, and update mailing information through the Cook County Treasurer's Office. Now, as part of our new enhancements, you can now go into our assessor detail page by clicking on access more in-depth property details here, which will then take you to the website, the application that offers much more information that is specific to your property. In the past, we were very selective, not selective, but there was only certain data that we can provide externally to our taxpayers. This application allows us to continue to share property characteristics, appeal information, Exemption data will be in the future, and I will explain why that is the case a little bit later. But it will also allow us to share information previously not offered before to our taxpayers, which includes permits that have been filed on your property, divisions. I know that there's a lot of people that are wondering, especially when they submit a petition for a division or consolidation, they're constantly wondering, what is my new PIN? Has this been divided? We will be, we have a data let here that obviously, that not obviously, but we'll present that information to our taxpayers. We are also offering additional information on the appeal process, and also have available not just sales data, but an ability from the application for you to do. Sorry, I have my roommate here, but be able to do a little bit of sales analysis as it pertains to your neighborhood of your specific property. Okay. And as part of the this brief demonstration, I will also be showing you some additional tools that were not currently available on our website that are part of our enhancement, which includes the ability to print a little bit more detailed page or summary of the property characteristics, be able to plot if you are doing some analysis with other comparable properties within your neighborhood, plot those parcels within a map that you can print, generate, use to determine any comparables that you have, and also download the local neighborhood sales that we have that have been reported to the assessor's office that relate to the neighborhood in which your property is located in. And with that, I'm going to take a brief pause. Teresa, do we have any questions?
Yes, you stated that you'll be able to map properties once for comparable properties.
Yes.
Can you just show me where's the mapping option at, please?
Sure. So here I am in the what is typically the from if you start on our website, the data let is going to take you directly to the year that you're looking at, and it's going to take you to 2022.
Yes.
Because this application started went live or is started based on the implementation of our IS World system. Right now, we are just populating it with data for 2021 and 2022. We are working with our vendor because this website is updated on a nightly basis. We want to make sure that we are able to maintain a level of performance so that if somebody files an exemption or an appeal, they can literally go to our website application and check the status or check to make sure that, yes, we have in fact received it. So we want to make sure that we offer that level of performance to our taxpayers. So for now, we are working on just the first 2 years. And then just going forward, we will determine what allows to continue to update this at a very timely basis and add additional years as necessary. So in order to see data mapped, and this is not just sales data, by the way, if you search for a subset of pins, you are able to plot those pins in the map as well. There's a couple of ways in which you can actually access the mapping element. If you go down to the bottom of these datalets, which, by the way, all of these datalets will appear on the parcel regardless of if there's data in there. If, for example, you're looking at a residential parcel, you will still see a tab for a commercial building. You just will not see any information available for that specific parcel, and it'll say no data, indicating that we don't have data for that specific datalet, but we will still reference all of the tabs for that specific parcel. So if you go all the way down, there's map.
Yes.
And then from there, your specific parcel that you are doing research on will be plotted within our GIS mapping system that has actually been integrated as part of this application. So if you wanted to see your parcel being plotted in a map, you can just click on maps and it'll display it there. If you want to add additional parcels, or if you want to highlight additional parcels within the map itself, you can do so from here. I will show you a little bit later in the demonstration how you'll be able to, as when you do the search for the actual neighborhood sales, how you'll be able to plot those in the very same way in which I'm demonstrating the plotting of that specific parcel that I'm looking at, how that is going to be actually plotted. Depending on the sales and depending on those pins that have been selected as part of that neighborhood, how you will see that plotted in the map. But it's just that easy where you just click on map. And of course, depending on how much data is as part of that neighborhood, how large that neighborhood is, or how many sales have taken place in that neighborhood, it might just take a couple more seconds to render and plot all of the data in itself. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That was very informative. And that's a
Okay.
lot of information.
So Going back to the original PIN, I just want to show you, as I referenced before, we have a couple of new components that are additions or enhancements to the data that we have available in our website. For example, we have what is commonly called the home improvement exemption. We were not able to disseminate that information in the past. Now, any parcel that actually has a home improvement exemption, not only will you be able to see that value available in the values, the value summary.
Yes.
If there is one in place, there's a column here that says HIE AV. So if there is a home improvement exemption that property is specifically receiving, you will see a reference there. And then for additional information on that specific property, they can go to the HIE additions, which would let the taxpayer know, of course, what's the square footage of the improvement that is currently receiving that exemption exemption amount. So let me go ahead and select a parcel that that has a little bit of that information, just to display both just how permit information is now available, how the home improvement exemption is available as well on the property. As you saw, because I started with this PIN in our website, you are probably wondering, how do I return? What if I want to start now that I'm here in this application? How do I start a new search? All you have to do is go here where it says property records, and you can search either by address, you can search by parcel number, and search by map, meaning that if you kind of have an area that you would like to search, you can click on map search and kind of define what that area is. And let's say maybe you want to start back on our website. You can also go back to our website by clicking on the actual logo, Cook County Assessor's website.
Wow.
Which will take you then to our Cook County Assessor's website if you were not done researching information in the website as well. So we're linking them all together to make sure that as a constituent is doing research, they have the ability to go back and forth as necessary.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is actually the home improvement exemption? Can you?
Sure. That is a home improvement exemption is a statutorily available exemption that is maximum up to $75,000 in market value for properties, residential properties that are used as a primary residence, in order to, in essence, I wouldn't say freeze, but just withheld the assessment of their property immediately after an improvement has been made on their property. So what they typically does is it may freeze the value or kind of suppress the addition of the home improvement until up to 4 years, and then the added back onto the overall property once the home improvement exemption expires. There are, we can definitely forward on additional information that is available on our website to be a little bit more specific on what the home improvement exemption is, but it does require that it be a residential property and it is used as the primary residence for the individuals that are claiming the property. You do not have to apply for it. It is something that the assessor's office applies automatically whenever we see that there is permit information that shows that there is an improvement on the property.
Oh, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. So I will go ahead and now go back to parcel number because I have a subset of pins that I would like to demonstrate to show some of this additional functionality. Once again, the beauty of this is that you can, if you know your PIN number, you can enter the whole PIN number here. If, let's say, you want to look at a neighborhood or a section of the neighborhood, you can enter a partial PIN, and that will return all of the pins that have the same, for example, prefix, and it'll pull all of the data. You can actually look at the specific tax year, the current tax year immediately and go straight to 2022. If you want to compare the data for both 2022 and 2021, you can click on any, and then your results will then come back with data for both years, which then you can look at once the data is returned. You'll be able to go toggle back and forth within the application to look at the data between those years, especially when you are reassessed and you want to take a look at where your property was before reassessment until what it is as part of the reassessment. You'll be able to see that information back and forth. So let me go ahead and enter this PIN. Okay, I will click search. I put any so that it returns 2 years. So as you can see here, it is returning the data for both 2021 and 2022. If I would like to look at just 2022, I can just click on the box and then just click on the row. Or if I want to look at both years, I can click on all here. And then it'll take me and allow me to see the data. Once again, one of the additional features is, let's say I entered just a partial PIN. So I'm going to remove the semi-last three sections or section of the parcel. So I'm going to click search. So now I was returned with 32 pins, and they all start with the parcel numbers of 05, 07, 105. This also has years 2021 and 2022. If I wanted to focus on 2022, and because I'm trying to see how my property stacks up against, once again, properties, or I want to compare just at a more granular level how that property looks like against other neighbors, once again, you can click on all. And you can view the data that is present right there that you have selected in a map as well. So that is ways that you can look and plot the data within a map. Sorry, go ahead.
No, would I be able to print their data as well as my own data at that time?
Okay. Yes, you are able, and I will show you in a second how you can download that information, and you can print it or save it to a PDF. For example, these are the pins that I selected, and as you can see, whereas in that first pin, it took me directly to just the one parcel polygon. Here, it's plotting by the little pinpoints every one of those parcels that I had selected as part of my search.
Right.
And then, of course, you can move back and forth. And that if, let's say, you want to look at a specific parcel, you can just select that parcel and then review the data for that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me go back to this pin. And I should not have hit just back search. Sorry about that. So I click on pin. So I'm going to go back to my pin. I'm going to pick any, so I can show you once again how you can look at the data for both years.
Okay.
Click search. Select them both. And now I'm just going to select any one of these rows. And they will take me once again to the datalets that you saw a couple of minutes earlier. From here, once again, one of the new components that we have available is the HID, the Home Improvement Exemption.
Exactly.
So here, I'm going to see that information. And depending on when we started processing it, if it is one of those home improvement exemptions that we processed before we went live with our IS World system, then you will most likely find it in other instructions. We do have a kind of user guide that shows you or directs you as to where you can expect to find specific classes within the datalets that are available. So if it is historic, and by historic mean anything before we went live with our system, which means 2020 and prior, you will find that reference in other structures. At which point it's telling us that we have a home improvement exemption and the year that it was built was 2019. And then if it's something that's newer after we've gone live, then you will see the HIE, you will see that information in HIE editions. So this is a pre-IS World. It is a converted home improvement exemption. So that information is available here. In essence, that information is available here in the OBY details. But if you went into the value summary tab, you will see that the actual assessed value of that home improvement exemption is $1,842.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's very detailed.
So let me show you how, if it's new, I'm going to, and from here, you don't have to go back and click on address and parcel number or map search unless you want to change the way you want to do your research. From here, you can always click on return to search results. And then you can start your brand new search here.
Okay. So I can click on the additional pin underneath if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Here, 3021. So here I'm picking up brand new PIN. I mean, not a brand new PIN, but a different PIN. So I'm clicking any years. I'm clicking both. So because this parcel did receive a home improvement exemption after we were live in IS World, you would find that information in HIE additions, which is not reflected here. My apologies. Okay, so I have to look at that to see why it's not populating, but it would reflect that record in the HIE additions by indicating that record took place. And then obviously, once again, the summary, the value summary is going to tell you then the value of when that property, oh, I see why. I'm sorry, my apologies. So then it would show you when we put that data or what the value is of that home improvement exemption for the year that it is being selected.
You know, I keep hearing you say this term, IS World. Can you give me some information on what is the IS World?
So IS World was, as I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, it is the county initiative, or it is the software application that is going to be replacing, or is currently replacing, because the assessor's office went live with a portion of their process back in 2021. It is the property tax system that will be replacing our 40-year-old mainframe system. That software is going to be rolling out over the next couple of years with the rest of the property tax offices, which include the residual or the additional transactions and operations that are the assessor's office, such as exemptions and certificates of error for the assessor's office. But the rollout will also include the tax extension and redemption and delinquent taxes processing that is administered by the clerk's office, and then also deal with the billing and collecting processes as administered by the treasurer's office. So all of the property tax offices, the key stakeholder property tax offices, are expected to be using the IS World software. Hopefully by end of 2024, we would have migrated most of our operations away from the legacy system, which is our mainframe, to the IS World platform.
Wow. So we've gotten a great start.
Yes, we have.
Definitely.
Okay, so then from here, if something has been reassessed, this is also an additional feature, even though, yes, many people have their assessment notices, and we do print out a summary as well, both on our website and here. You can also look at the notice summary here, click on notice summary, and it'll show you if we send out any type of assessment notice. It will show you the parcel. It'll show you when we generated the data. So you may have received, for example, on this PIN, maybe you didn't receive it on June 23rd, 2022. That's just when we create the data so that we can send out the reassessment notices. It is also going to show the property class that was listed on the notice, the total assessed value, and then the total market value. There are times when we find that we have made an error. So we send out what's called a supplemental or late notice. If we have sent one on a property, that information will also be referenced in the notice detail. And then you will see a sequence number of 2 with a later notice date and most likely a different total AV and market value in order for us to correct the original mailing that we did. Okay. So I'm going to jump and show you a little information about the divisions, and once again, kind of show you how, for example, let's say you want to do some research on your entire condo complex, how you can once again select all of the parcels within a specific building or within a specific area, and then look at all of the data together. So let me go back to return to search results. I'm going to enter the following PIN. Once again, it does allow for partial PINs. So as many of the taxpayers know, if it's a condominium, the last 4 digits of your property identification number usually has a different sequence other than 4 zeros. So let's say I want to look at the entire condo building. I'm just going to enter the initial 10 digits of the PIN. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, leave it at any, and click search. It is now returning all of the PINs within that building, which in this case, it appears like there's 6 units because I selected any. Once again, I can look at both years. And then I'm going to go ahead and click here. I'm going to select to view all. If I want to compare my property against my condo neighbors, all I have to do is, in order to see the data, is if you look here, right above where I've been clicking to return to search results, there's a little flags that allow you to advance on records. As you saw on the table before, there's 12 records because of the fact that I'm looking at 6 units and I'm looking at 2021 and 2022 data. As a result, those are 12 records, and those 12 records have now been pulled so that I can review them. So from here, if I want to just toggle on to the next record or the next condo within my condo building, I will just have to click on the arrow to advance. And as you can see here, I'm now in condo number 2, and I'm looking at data for 2021. I click on advance. I'm still in condo number 2, and I'm now looking at 2022. If I click keep advancing.
This is fascinating. I'm telling you, this is really fascinating. If I lived in the condo, I don't have to. This is just easy work for us. They don't need an attorney to file an appeal. This data is at their hand, right?
Exactly. If they want to compare it, they want to make sure that everybody in their building, of course, with condos, they are, excuse me, subjected to the Condominium Act. And most of the evaluation is obviously based off of the percentage of ownership of the entire building, which, as you can see here, if there's any thoughts of, well, how come my neighbor's value is higher than mine or lower than mine, you can also compare the percentage of ownership between the parcels as well, so that you can kind of find that it's an indicator that, oh, wait a minute, it looks like they own a bigger slice of the pie on this building. That's probably why their taxes are higher or lower than mine, or not the taxes necessarily, but their assessed value for their property.
I'm loving this. I'm really loving this, because this is a lot of the questions that we get when we in outreach, when we at live events. We get these questions even through our email system. They want to compare their properties, the condos, to each other, and so this is going to be very helpful. And I mean, this is fascinating.
And one of the big things is that I also recall as well getting a lot of questions on, and also in condos, because it happens quite frequently, especially if it's a brand new condo that is going through a lot of development, is I heard my PIN changed. What is my new PIN? I wasn't even aware that a declaration was filed on my building. How do I know what my new PIN is? You can go in, excuse me, and click on divisions and consolidations. It will reflect what the old PIN was. So the original PIN for this property was divided, it looks like, in 2021. This is a division number. So if you ever needed to contact our office or our divisions department and have a little bit more information of, hey, can I have a copy, or there was a division with this division number, can you tell me more about this? This would be a key number or piece of information that you can provide. And then from here, it's showing you what the new related parcels are as a result of that division, which means that for this parcel in 2021, we divided in 2021 this parcel and created actually 7 separate condos, or not separate, 7 units or 7 different parcels out of it. So I know that I demonstrated that there were 6 pins on that condo, but then there was an additional new parcel that was created as a result of that division, which was a non-condo building. The reason that didn't appear on our search is because it has a different sequence number than the rest of the condominiums. But this is showing you the 7 pins that were created as a result of this division.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me go back then to our permit information, which I keep talking about, and I don't think I've gotten to yet. Let me go back to return search results. Actually, let me go back to really quickly, and I can do it from here as well. If let's say I want to look at the condo buildings and I want to see how they plot out on the map. And maybe for those of you that have already done search and played around with the Cook County's Cook Viewer application, which is worked on by multiple property tax offices within the county, you will know that if it's a condo building, we will display the actual polygon as a single block. So, because we don't currently map vertically, and most condos are vertical, and it's really just one large plot of land that has been subdivided several times, If you then try to plot all of those pins, which here it looks like we have selected the 6 pins, it doesn't mean that they're missing. It's just because it's a condo and it is a raised structure, it's not going to separately, display all of the different numbers. If it's a condominium, it's going to show you where it plots by the first 10-digit number of that condo. So you will see one single pinpoint. That's not an error. That's just because, once again, Cook County currently does not display or map the condominiums or any high rises as more than one single parcel within the parcel layers. Okay, so I am going to go back, return to search. Okay. A lot of questions that I think we also get is how come you don't display commercial data? As you know, the county or the Cook County Assessor's Office is working hard on attaining additional commercial data so that we can both obviously improve our assessment processes for commercial data, but also to be able to display outward to the general taxpayer, why is that property worth what it is? So from here, this is a commercial property that I'm selecting. If it is a commercial building, we will be displaying key attributes that we currently do have as part of that commercial building. We're obviously working hard in updating the commercial information. We want to be able to continue to gather the characteristics that are specific to commercial data. But for now, and this is some of the information that was not probably available within the property, our website, is we are trying to improve those characteristics that we do have available. And we are looking through for the next 4 to 5 years, continue to enhance this so that within the next 5 years, you will, next time that you possibly click this commercial building, you will see additional information. You will see square footage. You will see what is the area that is complete, what is the information within that specific building, so that we can present that outwardly to the public at large. But I wanted to show that this is a feature that we're working on. I mean, this is available currently in production. It's just that as we continue to build the profile, the specific characteristics of commercial data, we will continue to display that for anybody that is doing research or anybody that just wants to play around with the application, because as a nerd, I know I love to look at data. So, but I just wanted to point out that this information will be available. It is currently available, and we hope to continue to enhance it so that we can provide as much detailed information as we currently can with residential buildings, which does display a plethora of characteristics for those buildings. And once again, on this parcel, I want to show you that this was reassessed for 2022, or we sent a notice, my apologies. So even if you were not a PIN that was subject to the normal triennial reassessment, if for some reason there was an improvement or some kind of value changed to your property and we had to send out a non-triennial reassessment notice, you will see that referenced here. So that means that this property received a notice this year, 2022, because their market value went up from what we had it the previous year.
Did you say you were going to talk a little bit about permits again? Can you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I just want to show, since this PIN has a specific record, once again, this information does provide the data for any appeals or certificates of error that have been filed for a specific property. So it's giving you some of that information, such as the docket number, when we received the filing, who the filer was, if it was an attorney that had filed or if it was a pro se taxpayer, what the nature of the appeal was, and where it currently stands in the process. Now, I do want to put in a caveat that it looks like the appeal status was closed internally, but because we haven't released the the appeal decision letters to the public, until we do that, you will not see another section. Once we do that and we have sent out those notices, you will see another section that gets populated with the actual results of that appeal. So for now, it's just showing that we have received this appeal, we have reviewed it, we have processed it internally, but we just have not disseminated the notices and the results to the public yet. And once that happens, that will update a different little section of this datalet and show the results of that appeal. And then you'll be able to see the actual value summary changes in the value summary tab here.
Okay.
Okay. So I will now go back to my return to search. Okay. Gonna click on 2021 and I will go to permits. And here it shows that we received a permit for this property. It's showing what the status is of that permit, what the permit description was, what type of construction it was seeking to undertake, which right here says the permit description, interior alteration with paving, and then it shows what the amount of that specific permit is. Obviously, the amount of the permit does not necessarily coincide with the increase in assessed value or market value of the property. That just means that when the person took out the permit with their respective municipality, that was the amount of the permit that they took out. But that information is available. And if there are multiple permits on the property, for example, all you have to do here is go to the little arrow here, and it'll take you to the record for the next year. Here we're in tax year 22, and it's showing you the record.
Okay.
Okay, so I am now going to go back to, actually, I can do it from here. So we talked a little bit about the ability to see neighborhood sales. A lot of you have probably heard me say neighborhood sales and are wondering, neighborhood, does that mean the neighborhood that I live in, such as Rogers Park, Boys Town, Lakeview, Lincoln Park? What we're talking about when we refer to neighborhood sales are actually more geographical areas that are used for the assessment of properties. They're supposed to be more homogeneous areas in which, when we are valuing your property, the assumption is that most of the area or most of the properties within that area are pretty homogeneous. So they are constructed within that specific geographical area. So when we talk about neighborhood sales, we're not talking about, once again, the colloquial term of neighborhood. It's more a very specific geographic area for assessment purposes. And one way that you can find out if you're not sure what your neighborhood is from this datalet. You can go to profile and you will see a 5-digit number here. It says neighborhood. So that means that you are in Township 29, which is Palatine, and your neighborhood number is 022. And that is specific to the property that you are on. So depending on how many different neighborhoods this township has, this number can go over 100, but they will start always with the township number. And you can see here what that township number is, plus the name, if you don't memorize, obviously, the township numbers, which we don't expect most members of the public to do so. So then from here, I can click on neighborhood sales.
Okay. Now we're doing this so that they can determine if they want to file an appeal or not, basically, right?
Correct. If you are wondering, well, wait a minute, I know that the property down the street, or I know the property next to mine, I know they sold. Well, this is a way that you can actually see what the sales that have, the reported sales that have occurred within this geographic area. As you can see here, it says neighborhood 29022. That's what we're considering that localized neighborhood. So if you wanted to look at all of this information, you can either download, like select the entire data set and download it so that you can see, you can do some of your own comparisons via Excel. I'm a lover of data. We wanted to be very transparent, so we actually even referenced sale prices that are $1. These are actual sales that are reported with the Illinois Department of Revenue as part of their MyDeck program. So it's not that we're actually putting these sale prices out there. It's just from data that is reported to us. But in once again, and our continuous goal to be transparent, anything that was sold, whether it's for $1 or not, we wanted to publish and let the public at large just do their own determination whether it's something that merits additional review. But as you can see, this property sold for $1 and then it sold for $169,000.
So I'm sorry, but we have a question.
Okay.
Can you explain why recent sale data is important to understand?
It is important to understand, especially if it's a town that is subject to reassessment, because sales help determine what the fair market value of your property is. So, for example, if you think, well, this is not what it would sell, or my property is not worth that much, or you feel like, no, my property is worth more, all that information goes into the that algorithm that we use in order to determine what the fair market value is of your property. In essence, what would your property sell if all things held equal? All the characteristics, the neighborhood was the similar, the characteristics, the square footage. What would it actually sell against all other properties that are like-minded, or not like-minded, but obviously that are similar in characteristic level? So that is how, when we say fair market value, it's taking a lot of that information, and sales being a key indicator of how much your property would sell to determine how much is the fair market value that we should assess your property for.
Now, we have another question too
Mhm.
that just came in, and it says, "My property was overassessed." And maybe this is something for valuations department, and we may have to get his property index number, but it says the property was overassessed. The value supposedly went up $60,000, yet I have done any home improvement at all. So,
We would have to check. Unfortunately, we do reassess on a triennial value, on a triennial reassessment. So I think one of the downsides of that is that, whereas if the county was a county that reassesses on an annual basis, maybe the jumps or any increase in value just by natural increase in cost of living, or any of those items, it would be lessened, right? But because we don't get reassessed in general every 3 years, anything that would have been seem not as drastic, because it's kind of going, it's being compounded on a year to year basis. It's all aggregated then by that fourth, or not that fourth year, but then that year that you get reassessed. So sometimes it's not so much that you jumped, you know, over the 1 year. Is just more a natural progression of the sales that occurred within that time frame, and what they really mean to against your property. But for additional specific details on your property, I would definitely follow up with us to take a look a little bit more closely, to see why the value was that level.
yeah, I suggest that you contact our office. You can email us too. We'll drop that in the chat, or you can contact our office and speak to a live agent, and we can assist you with that question. We can look into your property for you to see exactly why your property assessed value went up as much as it did.
Mhm.
So,
Sorry, I'm
hi,
jumping in here.
Angelina, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. So
Good.
I just wanted to hone in on this, because I think it's really important to understand. Um, so they're saying the assessed value went up by $60,000, but again, it's important for homeowners to understand that this is we use sales data to determine this. So it's not like every 3 years an actual appraiser goes out and appraises your specific property. It's actually a model, and we use sales data. So I
Yes.
think we often forget to kind of explain that we know that. So that's why we're talking about sales data. And if you want, so this person, the property owner that put this question up, they could type their PIN in here and look at the recent sales data. And this will help to determine if maybe you were in fact over assessed. So I
Right.
just wanted to kind of hone in on that.
Yeah, and to Angelina's point, that is specifically why it says here that it's the last 36 months, because of the fact that the data that is aggregated is all of the sales that took place, once again, within that neighborhood over the last 3 years. And that then gets used as part of that regression model to determine the fair market value of properties within that area. So it is all data, all 36 months, as a result of that information.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to see this information, because maybe you feel like, well, I don't think I don't think this block is near mine, so I don't know why I'm being compared against, this property when it's nowhere near mine. Once again, you can click on the results, and then click on view list. Okay, that should not have happened.
Well, we are using technology, so anything can happen, Marilla.
think I was idle a little bit too long.
Yeah. Esmeralda typed her property index number. If there's any questions, if you're out there and you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Please share this presentation. Um, so this is information for you. It's informational, it's detailed, it's on our website, it's transparent, So are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So I selected all of the properties that were available. Okay. That might have been the issue. Okay, so the way I demonstrated earlier on with the condo buildings, it's supposed to plot the specific data points within that area. So geographically, I believe that parcel was, I think, in the township of Palatine, which is somewhere up here. So it would have plotted, in essence, those properties visually, would have dropped the pinpoints or into the area, so that you would have been able to compare once again and look at it a little bit closer. And then, of course, the more you pull out or pull in, you would be able to then determine, okay, that property, it looked like it was far away because I didn't recognize that street. But sometimes just looking at it in a more geographical way lets you see that that property is closer to you than you may think. Because remember, when we're looking at neighborhoods, especially for mass regression, we're not just looking at the properties that are immediately across the street. If the neighborhood is a large neighborhood, or the neighborhood is literally just the subset of pins that are in this screen, it's really what's going to appear or what's going to be used for the reassessment of the property. Okay. Let me go back to parcel number. And then the last thing that I want to show as part of this is we mentioned earlier on the ability to generate a copy of all of the information that we have available for your property. You can do that by either clicking on printable summary, which will in turn, and you can, of course, going to trigger right away for you to print it into a document, but you can also save it to a PDF if you just want to save it just after you've done your research. And it will only display anything that has data on it. So as we talked earlier, this is a residential property. So even though we have reference, this is a commercial property. So if this was, even though it may have had a residential data lit on display here in the property itself, because we don't have data for that, it would not print out on the printout. So then from there, you will be able to have a snapshot of all of the information that is currently available for that specific property. But maybe you don't want to keep all of it. Maybe you are just interested in seeing how your property was, how does it compare over the last couple of years. If you are just interested in downloading or printing just the value summary or a specific data let, you can just go to printable version. And then you'll just be able to download or print that specific subset. Okay. And then for those, I know that was a question earlier. If you selected multiple pins, you can do the same with all of those records as well. Okay. I will now take another pause. Do we have any additional questions?
Not at this time. Did you talk anything about the exemption history? What was listing? Did you speak about that?
No, I haven't. That's why I wanted to make a good pause, because I felt like it was a cutoff point. So as you can see, and I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, there is no data let for exemptions. There's a very specific reason why. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier when I described what the IS World application is, that we in the assessor's office, we went live with a portion of our functionality in 2021, and that portion was very specific to reassessment of a property, valuation, field inspections, appeals, transmitting data to the board of review for subsequent review of the values, exemptions and certificates of errors, and other types of operations like omitted assessments. Those are not expected to transition into IS World until 2023, late 2023. So as a result of that, the assessor's office is currently working on 2 systems. We have been very careful, obviously, to make sure that our data is still in sync and we are able to provide good customer service. But that is still data, or those are still processes that are being functionally operational within the legacy systems. But once we start moving forward, and we're hoping that to be able to start accepting exemption applications through our online filing system by early next year, the more we start receiving that data and we start transitioning over the next 18 months away from the legacy system, then at that point, you will see a datalet that is going to be specific to exemptions, right? Exemption results, certificate of errors for exemptions results. So we are working with the vendor to start grabbing information that is historical to be able to present that as well. But that is really the reason why you do not see exemptions. And we're hoping to be there absolutely by late next year and make this a more complete, robust data set. In the meantime, you can still go to the regular lovely Cook County Assessor's website, and you can click on exemption history and status and certificate of error status for information that is specific to exemptions.
That's perfect.
Okay, so you've not lost that functionality. We've just we're still transitioning over to that type of process.
That's excellent. I really enjoyed this session, and I've learned a lot. I hope many of you have learned a lot as well. Marella, I want to thank you for all this information. And this is on our website right now. Is that?
That is correct. They can start at the assessor's website, and as I showed at the beginning of the presentation, you can either get to the assessor detail portal by starting your search at our website, at our general website. And or once you determine that information has great stuff, but now I want to look at a couple of pins at the same time, because I don't want you guys to abandon our website. It's still a great website, great tool, great information. You can also then make the assessor property details .cookcountyil.gov. And I know that's a mouthful, so I'm pretty sure that Teresa can put it in the chat if possible. But you can also book that as one of your favorites, so that you can go back and forth, and that you know that if you want to look at additional information, you can come here, or look at several information or several parcels at once. You can use this, but always, if you just want to focus on your specific parcel, you can always start from our website. Because we want to make sure that you don't miss out on all of the other additional great tools that we have here, and all of the information that we continue to have available for our constituents.
Well, this has been amazing. This is wonderful, Marella. I hope that each and every one of you enjoyed this session. We appreciate your time. You could have been anywhere else. You could have been having lunch. And if you were having lunch, I hope this was food for your thought. Okay, so we appreciate it. We thank you. Thank you, Marella, for such a great presentation. Thank you for just taking the time out.
No problem. And we thank you once again, just like Teresa said, we thank you all for just being along here the last hour with us. Thank you.
Thank you.